So in FIFA 19 at the moment, EA are currently giving out winter upgrades for players they think have had a good season so far, and as they're probably not going to do that for the Championship, what I thought I'd bring to you guys today is a Championship player from each club who deserves to either be upgraded or downgraded on FIFA 19. Now this could throw up some interesting debates in the comments down below, so what I'd like to know from you guys is, judging by their FIFA 19 stats, who do you feel has outperformed them this year, and who do you think has underperformed them? So we'll go through the Championship in alphabetical order, starting out with Aston Villa, and coming in as their upgrade, it's got to be John McGinn in my opinion. I decided to bump him up to a 73. Since arriving from Scotland, he's had a very positive impact on this Villa squad, and even with Villa struggling lately, I think John McGinn's been one of their shining lights, a player who stood out for them recently. He scored 2 goals and picked up 7 assists from that central midfield role so far this season. And then for a downgrade, I've gone for Neil Taylor. I know he's not very popular with the Villa fans, but whenever I see him play, they look a little bit vulnerable down that left-hand side, and I decided to bump him down to a 69. For Birmingham City, it had to be Chelham's getting the upgrade, already scoring 19 goals this season and picking up 3 assists as well. It really has been a breakthrough year for him, and you know, there's no doubt going to be quite a lot of interest in this guy in the summer. He definitely deserves an upgrade on FIFA. In terms of a downgrade for Birmingham, I wasn't sure who to go with because everyone's had a very consistent season for Birmingham so far, so I decided to go for someone who's not really been involved in the squad so far this season, Thomas Kuszczak, as we've not seen him play in absolutely ages. I can't remember the last time I saw him in the Birmingham shirt. I believe he's training with the reserves now, and there was quite a bit of speculation around what will happen with, you know, both him and David Stockdale in the future. Obviously, Lee Camp eventually was brought in, so just for the pure reason that we've not seen him playing over a year, I'm going to say that Kuszczak deserves a downgrade. Then for Blackburn Rovers, I could have gone for an obvious choice, someone like Danny Graham or Bradley Dack, but someone I feel who is quite underrated on FIFA is Harrison Reed, considering the job he's been doing at Blackburn so far this season, playing out on that right-hand side. He can play in a number of positions, only rated 69 on FIFA. I feel like he should be bumped up a few ratings. For a downgrade for Blackburn, I have gone for Ben Brereton. I've not been very convinced by his performances at Blackburn lately, and considering the price tag he was brought into Blackburn for, you know, arriving from Nottingham Forest, don't get me wrong, he's still got a lot of potential, but at this point in time, I don't think he justifies being 69 rated on FIFA. For a downgrade for Bolton Wanderers, I really could have chosen any of that squad, really. I decided to go for Mark Wilson, as I've not really been very convinced by watching him play so far this season. When we played them away this season, he also had a bit of a dodgy game in that one, so I decided to go for Wilson, but realistically, I could have chosen any Bolton player. In terms of an upgrade, this was a bit of a tricky task, but I decided to go for Remy Matthews. You know, lately in the Championship, from what it showed, you know, Bolton could have been conceding a lot more goals if it wasn't for Remy Matthews in the games that he has featured in. So for Matthews, I decided to give him a +2. For Brentford, I went for Ben Rama as their upgrade. I feel like he's criminally underrated on FIFA. Obviously, someone like Neil Maupay obviously deserves an upgrade as well, but Ben Rama only being 68 rated, that is way too low. I decided to bump him up by 5 ratings up to a 73. So far this season, he's scored 4 goals and come up with 10 assists. A superb signing for Brentford indeed. In terms of a downgrade for them, I've gone for Daniel Bentley, a bit of an old keeper this season, can come up with some massive saves for Brentford, but equally has made quite a few high-profile mistakes which have led to goals. With Bristol City, their upgrade can only go to one player. It has to go to Adam Webster, who arguably has been one of the best defenders in the Championship so far this season, with Bristol City having the 2nd best defensive record. We thought that maybe their defence may suffer with the loss of people like Joe Bryan and Aidan Flint, but that has not been the case. Adam Webster has been superb and definitely deserves an upgrade on FIFA. With a downgrade, I've gone for Molly Watkins. I don't think he's particularly fitting well to this Bristol City side so far, and ever since leaving Barnsley, really, his career's sort of been going downhill. He didn't fit in at Norwich, and then since moving to Bristol City, hasn't had the best of times there. With Derby County, I had to go for Harry Wilson as their upgrade. I bumped him up to a 74. He's more than deserving of that, being one of the best players in the Championship so far this season. Then for a downgrade, as much as I absolutely love David Nugent as a Preston fan myself, I don't think he's been particularly good for Derby this season. I bumped him down to a 69, going down by 2 ratings. Derby fans, let me know down below what have you made of David Nugent so far. Whenever I've seen him play, he's not really been that effective. Hull City's upgrade is of course going to go to Jared Bowen, and I'm surprised by how low rated he is on FIFA at the moment. Considering the season he had last year in the Championship, I thought EA would bump him up quite a bit, but that wasn't the case. I decided to bump him up by 5 ratings up to a 74, could easily be higher than that actually. So far scoring 16 goals and picking up 3 assists. Then for their downgrade, I decided to go for Chris Martin. Considering he's a striker, he's only scored 1 goal so far this season and has an average match rating of 6.55, which isn't the best. With Ipswich's upgrade, it was a bit of a difficult one to come up with, but I did decide to go for Freddie Sears, considering he is their top scorer in the Championship at the moment. Obviously, the bad news about Freddie Sears is that he has been ruled out for the remainder of the season, so I wish him all the best going forward in the future. For their downgrade, I've got to go for Bilkowski. He's a gold goalkeeper on FIFA, and this season's performances haven't justified that. He's made a lot of mistakes leading to goals so far this season, and it's a shame to see. I know he's not been playing in front of a confident back four, but he has made quite a few errors this season, which is quite surprising considering last season he's probably one of the best keepers in the Championship. Leeds United's main man this season has been Pablo Hernandez, and I think that he has justified moving back up to a gold card on FIFA. With this season scoring 7 goals and picking up 11 assists, you know, I'm in no doubt he's going to be in double figures for both goals and assists come the end of the season, and for any player to do that, it is quite the achievement. And with Kamar Roof out injured now, Pablo Hernandez is going to be more important to this Leeds side than ever before. For a downgrade for Leeds, I've gone for Barry Douglas. Now, he came into this Leeds squad with a lot of expectations. He was probably the best fullback in the league last year with the Wolves. He's not really lived up to those expectations at Leeds so far. Don't get me wrong, he's been a solid player for them, but I don't feel as if he's quite lived up to that. He's had a couple of injuries as well, and I feel like he deserves a little bit of a downgrade. With Middlesbrough's upgrade, I had to go for Lewis Wing. He's actually only a bronze card on FIFA 19, which is really surprising considering he's been one of Middlesbrough's most influential players lately. With their downgrade, I'm going to have to go for Rudy Gestede. He's a striker who's not scored a goal so far this season, albeit he hasn't been getting in to this Spurs side, but I think that's with the reason he's not really been brilliant for them. Millwall's main man this season has been Jake Cooper, and so I decided to give him an upgrade by +2. He's an absolute unit at the back, but has been just as influential going forward for Millwall this season. He's popped up with 6 assists and 5 goals. He's a really tough player to pick up at set pieces, and definitely one of their best players so far. For a downgrade, I decided to go for James Meredith, their left back. Been a little bit inconsistent for them so far this season. I decided to bump him down by 2 ratings. Millwall fans, let me know down below if you'd agree with that. Norwich City are on an absolute roll in the Championship at the moment, and for their upgrade, I could have gone for a lot of players in their squad. You know, players like Timu Pukki, Emi Buendia, Hernandez, Stiepermann, but I decided to go for Max Aarons. He's only 58 rated on FIFA, which is absolutely obscene. I decided to bump him up by 12 ratings to get him up to a 70. I feel like that's more than justified. Definitely one of the most promising fullbacks in England at this point in time, and Norwich's youth academy in general has produced some absolute gems over the past few years. For a downgrade, I couldn't really have picked anyone that's currently in the playing squad for Norwich, as everyone's doing their job perfectly at the moment for them, so I had to go for Ivo Pinto, the player who Max Aarons has overtaken as that #1 right back in there. He's barely featured for Norwich so far this season. I think that Max Aarons has already proven that he's a better player. Nottingham Forest's upgrade had to go for Joe Lolly. I decided to bump him up by 4 ratings up to a 74 rating. He's only rated 70 on FIFA currently, which is definitely a bit too low for a player of Joe Lolly's quality, providing how many goals and assists he has done so far this season. For downgrade for Forest, I decided to go for Ben Watson, not a player who's filled me with much confidence so far. I feel like he's way too overrated on FIFA, currently being a 73. Then for my team, Preston, once again, there were a couple of options for this one. I could have gone for someone like Ben Pearson, Alan Brown, who's been outstanding for us so far this season, but for me personally, I'm going for Jordan Storey. It's been crucial that we sorted out our defensive issues in the Championship, as we couldn't stop conceding goals earlier on in this season, and Jordan Storey coming into the starting 11 has been able to do that for us. He's only rated 59 on FIFA at this point in time, and he deserves to be way higher than that. I bumped him up by +9 ratings up to a 68. The partnership that he's formed with Ben Davies already has been absolutely brilliant to watch. They complement each other superbly. For a downgrade for Preston, I've gone for Paul Huntington. As much as I absolutely love the guy and all he's done for Preston over the past few years, whenever he's played this season, he's looked really lacklustre, and with Paul Huntington out of the team, we've looked much better at the back. With QPR, their upgrade really was between 2 players, either Joe Lumley or Eze. I decided to just go for Eze, but Joe Lumley equally deserves an upgrade in FIFA in my opinion. For their downgrade, I decided to go for Josh Scowen. Now, he's a bit of a weird player. When he arrived from Barnsley, and while he was at Barnsley, I really rated this guy. I thought he was excellent in his first season back in the Championship. When he first arrived at QPR, I thought he was very good breaking up the play, but this season, I don't know, his form seems to have dropped off a little bit. His quality on the ball hasn't always been there for me, and whenever I've seen him play this season, his level of performances haven't quite been up to the standard which he set for himself the past few years. So for that reason, I decided to bump him down by 2 ratings. QPR fans, would you agree with that? Next up, we got Reading, and for their downgrade, I decided to go for Modou Barrow. Now, Barrow is a player who really frustrates me, because you can see when you're watching him, there's definitely a player in there, but this season, he's not really been showing that. In the Championship, he's got an average match rating of 6.48, which isn't anything to shout about. As well as that, he's only scored 1 goal in 17 starts for Reading so far far this season and picked up 3 assists, and considering he is one of Reading's highest rated players in FIFA 19, he's not really justified that with his performances so far this season, so I bumped him down by 3 ratings down to a 70. I think there's more to come from what we're seeing in Modou Barrow at the moment. Then for the upgrade, I decided to go for Andy Adam. I feel like he's been quite an underrated fullback in the Championship so far this season. A bit of business which Reading got done early on in the transfer window, and one which really slipped under the radar. So far this season, I think he's probably been one of Reading's more consistent performers. With Rotherham United's upgrade, I had to go for Will Vokes. Definitely been one of their players of the season so far, if not their best player actually. He's got that quality in midfield. I think if Rotherham are going to stay up this season, he's going to play quite a large part in that. It wouldn't surprise me if there were quite a few clubs looking at this guy in the next transfer window, as I think he's been a very influential player for Rotherham over the past few years. Then for their downgrade, I decided to go for Palmer, a player who's not really been able to forge his way into that Rotherham side so far this season. When he has got in, he's not really convinced me. With Sheffield United, I had to go for their main man, Billy Sharp. He's only 70 rated on FIFA, and that certainly needs to be bumped up. I could have gone for another player like Ollie Norwood, who I also feel like has justified getting an upgrade on FIFA 19, but Billy Sharp scoring 22 goals in the Championship season, picking up 2 assists in the process as well. I couldn't ignore that. He definitely deserves an upgrade. For a downgrade for Sheffield United, I decided to go for Lundstrom. He's not really been able to force his way into this United side so far this season. I think the last game he played for Sheffield United, he was involved in that FA Cup defeat they had against Barnet, and since that, he's not been able to get his way back into the team. And for the rest of this season, I don't see him getting back in there either. Then with Sheffield Wednesday, obviously it's not been their best season so far, and for an upgrade, I decided to go for Thornley, a defender for them so far. I think that at times he's actually formed a decent partnership with Hector at the back, and although Wednesday's defence has been fairly inconsistent so far this season, Thornley's been a player who I'm not actually minded the look of so far. I decided to bump him up by 3 ratings. And then for a downgrade for Sheffield Wednesday, I decided to go for Pelya Pessi. I feel like he's a bit overrated on FIFA at this point in time. Whenever I do catch a glimpse of Wednesday, I'm not really sure what this guy offers to the team. I've bumped him down to a 68 rated. Sheffield Wednesday fans, would you say that's fair? And for Stoke City, it's really not been a good season. I wasn't sure who to upgrade for them. I've gone for a player who's not actually in Ultimate Team. That is Edwards, but he's got a rating on career mode in FIFA, and I decided to bump him up to a 68 rated card on Ultimate Team for this year. Edwards is a player who I've not actually minded the look of so far. I think he's got quite a big potential going forward for Stoke, and if we can build the team around some of their younger prospects like Edwards, then they may have a better future going forward. And then for a downgrade, I'm going to have to go for Ryan Shawcross. He's been a fantastic servant for Stoke over the past few years, was a terrific signing when he was first brought in, but I just don't feel he's got that ability anymore. This season in the Championship, I feel like he's become a liability for Stoke, and he's currently the highest rated defender in the Championship on FIFA 19, and I don't think his performances this season have justified that. I bumped him down by 5 ratings, down to a 72, and like I said, he's just not the same player he was. Next we then got Swansea City, and for their upgrade I had to go for Daniel James. After that blistering run he had against Brentford, his pace is one area which definitely needs to be looked into by EA. At this point in time on FIFA 19 Ultimate Team, Daniel James has 78 pace, which is absolutely bonkers. It goes to show that EA don't really pay much attention to the lower leagues, but Daniel James definitely worth an upgrade. I bumped him up to a 68. Could be a little bit higher, but I feel like his end product at times is a little bit wasteful. Obviously he's got a massive potential going forward into the future, but at this stage in his career, I feel like that sort of rating would be fair. And then for a downgrade for Swansea, I wasn't sure who really to go for. I decided to go for Declan John, a player who can be a little bit inconsistent defensively for them. Lately, some of his performances have seemingly picked up in the Championship, but on the whole this season, been a little bit inconsistent. With West Brom, I feel like on the whole their ratings are quite fair for what they're capable of doing. For an upgrade, I decided to go for Gareth Barry, a bit of an odd choice maybe, but Gareth Barry probably has been, when he's been in the West Brom squad, one of their best players. In the last few games which he's featured in, I thought he's been absolutely immense in midfield. Obviously, at the age he currently is, he can't be playing every match in the Championship, but when he is utilised in that defensive role position, he's absolutely phenomenal in there. And then for a downgrade, I'm going to have to go for Kyle Bartley, a player who has not impressed me at all since arriving at West Brom. There was a season in the Championship a couple of years ago where he was partnered with Pontus Jansson at Leeds United, and he was absolutely immense that season. He's not recaptured that form at West Brom at all, and rightly so, I think deserves a downgrade. And then finally we have Wigan Athletic. For their upgrade, there's no choice whatsoever. It has to go to Reece James. He's been absolutely immense in the Championship this season. I think that all Wigan fans will agree, you know, there's no doubt he's going to be playing his football next season in the Premier League. I'd like to see him being given a chance at Chelsea, but with their track record with youngsters, that's probably not going to happen. So I'd like to see him get a move out somewhere, and in the future, definitely, you know, an England international. And then for Wigan's downgrade, I decided to go for Darren Gibbs, and I feel like his career is just going, you know, further further downhill. Ever since that Sunderland Till I Die documentary came out, he's not been able to recapture any of his previous form at Wigan so far, and doesn't really add a lot of quality to their side. So I decided to bump him down by 3 ratings down to a 67. But guys, there you have it. There is a player from every Championship club who I feel like either deserves to be upgraded or downgraded in FIFA 19. So do let me know in the comments down below, do you agree with my upgrades and downgrades? Who from your club do you feel like deserves one in FIFA 19? Let me know down below. But apart from that, guys, that will now wrap it up for this video. So if you did go on to enjoy, make sure you leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you subscribe for some regular Championship content. But apart from that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.